Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video. And in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Lopez versus Leo fighting. So if you're new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like video if you do indeed like video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Lopez is 30-2 with 17 KOs and Leo is 24-1 with 11 KOs. This fight is for the IBF World Featherweight title. Lopez's last fight was a win via TKO in round 8 versus Abe, and Leo's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Baez. Lopez's losses have come versus Villa in 2019 and Montoya in 2018, and Leo's loss came by unanimous decision versus Fulton Jr. in 2021. And to speak more about what I've just been saying, like I mentioned, this IBF title on the line. This is Lopez's title, in which he's been defending really well as of recent, and to be fair, is on a very good run for himself. And you know, when you think of some of the big names in which he's fought and conquered as of recent, I suppose if you look at his last performance, that wasn't really against as typically as big of a name as to what we're used to seeing him in and against. But it was an excellent performance last time out, and he just showed he was completely the stronger man compared to that of Abe, and just completely outwilled him, to be honest. And to be fair, the stoppage was really impressive. Like, he showed that he was a massive showman really by doing that. And you know, just the fact that the crowd was getting going, it was getting up and it was getting excited, and he sensed that, and he could tell that, and he got them going, closed out the show. Flurry of punches, turned up to pace, and that was simple as that. And perhaps he could have done that earlier. That's something I might speak about a little bit more in just a moment. But in general, excellent performance. Completely, like I mentioned, showed up Abe and showed that Abe couldn't deal with the explosive nature and pressure in which Lopez likes to hold. And yeah, completely just beat him up, to be completely honest. But you know, like I mentioned, he's on a great run at the moment, and he is looking indestructible at times, even with the awkward style in which he has, in which, you know, fundamentally pretty much all the things you get told as a boxer when you're first starting out, he doesn't really do. But nonetheless, he still manages to find a way to be able to win, and to be able to win well. And like I say, it's impressive to see, and it's going to be an interesting fight versus Leo, who, you know, obviously had that time in which he fought at a high level against Fulton Jr. Showed that he couldn't quite mix it. You know, it wasn't a bad performance by him really. Fulton Jr. was just that bit better at the time, and pretty much just kind of outthrew him in the end and got better of the exchanges. And I think it's going to be a fight between the two of these, in which it's very much down to who gets the better of the exchanges is who's going to win. And I think there's going to be a lot of just kind of close 50-50 exchanges, where you can kind of give it one way or the other, and we kind of just see who comes out on top in that way. But last time out against Baez, that was an impressive performance against Leo, and well, for Leo. And yeah, he's making a bit of a name for himself at the moment. I think he's showed that he is above that kind of world level, that fringe world level in which a Baez is, and yeah, is deserving of this fight back in the featherweight division, in which, to be fair, the featherweight division possibly isn't in the best of position at the moment. Like, a lot of the best fighters have moved up to super featherweight, and yeah, I'm just not too sure who's really around high level fighting at the moment. Obviously there's talks of Inoue moving up, but that probably isn't going to happen for a little while. So for the moment, you know, Nick Ball might be moving up. We've just had Raymond Ford move up, Lee Wood move up, Josh Warrington move up, Mauricio Lara move up. So a lot of the big names have just moved up and gone up. So now for the moment, we're kind of left with like a Ray Vargas, of course Lopez. Other names are basically Ramirez is coming back in the mix. Espinoza is making a name for himself as well. So, you know, there are good champions, good fighters, good names around in the mix, but they're not quite at the level in which perhaps we were used to in the featherweight division at one point. And so yeah, I think fights like these, they make sense. they're gonna be good, and like I say, Liao is deserving of this fight. Also on this card though is Delgado versus Flores, in which I think Delgado will win via TKO in round 7. I think this is going to be a good fight. It's probably the toughest test for Delgado so far, and he's coming up as an interesting fighter. He's seemingly one who's definitely going to bring entertainment every time he fights, and he's been highly ranked by Top Rank, and as deserved from what I've seen. And so far so good. I think he's destructive in a lot of his work, and I think he's very good at, just to be honest, letting his hands go. And Flores, I think, is just looking a little bit uncomfortable when he lets his hands go. Obviously, he's going to be coming in with a good record and a real want to win, but I think Delgado, like I say, will just be able to get the better out of the exchanges, and like I say, is just looking more comfortable on his feet when he is throwing combinations and when he is planting his feet. And then I think he'll be able to get that TKO stoppage later on in the fight, like I mentioned, at round 7. And now to speak about Lopez as a fighter, of course you have to mention how awkward he is and how explosive he is at the same time. Like I've mentioned, fundamental boxing wise, it's the opposite of what you get told, but it's awkward, it's tricky, it's hard to deal with, it's hard to time against, and I don't necessarily know how good Liao's timing really is, but he's really going to have to time well against Lopez to be able to handle it. And in general, it's hard to handle, it's hard to be able to pin down and deal with, and you kind of, to an extent, have to fight fire with fire. I don't necessarily think trying to outbox somebody like a Lopez is your best bet unless you've got excellent timing, because he's just, like I say, very hard to pin down. You have to be really accurate against him to be able to deal with the way that he moves and things like that. His timing is, from what I've seen, very good as well. Typically, like I say, body work is excellent, and he will really kind of discipline you with up and down body shots, and I suppose up and down shots in general. But Liao is also somebody who has good body shots as well, so it'd be interesting to see who gets the better out of them kind of exchanges. Of course, he's powerful. He has that one-punch knockout power. He's got good balance. I think that because of the way he does move, he has to have really good balance. And from what I've seen, looks like it's really good. I don't think his footwork is anything really that crazy, but he just managed to maintain a good sense of balance. He's typically got that aggressive nature when he does kind of see that you are hurt, and he's got his high pressure, he's front foot, he's wanting to typically being close, he's definitely not afraid of you and isn't going to respect you, and I don't think Liao can get away with respecting Lopez too much for this fight. He imposes himself physically. He's not really the biggest guy, but when he's running at you, just kind of swinging from the other side of the ring, just running at you, that is imposing yourself physically wise, and Abe really couldn't handle that. So it'd be interesting to see if Liao can, and he, in that process kind of makes you fear him, because like I've mentioned, if he's running at you, throwing punches, even though it is rushing in, you can time him and his hands are low, when he's running at you, you kind of just want to cover up, and you're not really inclined to throw a lot of shots back. It does kind of make you fear him a bit. Like I mentioned, negatives wise though, footwork isn't the best and does stand straight on. I don't necessarily think, like I say, footwork wise it is amazing. I think he can sometimes struggle with sustained attacks when he has you on the ropes. Like I mentioned, I think you could have really got Abe out of there a lot earlier if you wanted to, but sometimes he can force to finish at the same time. So it's weird. Possibly it's a little bit inconsistent when he wants what he wants to do. I think he can move forwards in straight lines a little bit. Sometimes he's really creative in the way that he trying to maneuvers the way he comes in, but I think his actual pivots and things like that, I think Liao's got a lot better in that aspect than that of Lopez. I think his head's on the line. I think he can slap with his hooks sometimes. He can sometimes be a bit too comfy, and that's when he slows the pace down a bit. He I think perhaps can struggle against movers and being able to pin them down. I think his accuracy is something which can be very poor. His timing is good, but his accuracy can be quite often off. So he can go to throw the right punch, which looks like it's going to be able to land, but a fighter just can see it coming because the accuracy isn't the best on it. And to speak about Liao as a fighter, He's got a nice high guard, so I don't think it's going to be particularly easy for Lopez to be able to land his big shots against him. He's got quite a relaxed style, which is nice to see, and I think against a Lopez, like I mentioned, who's so explosive, you have to be quite relaxed and be able to handle that high tempo and not just kind of shell up and freeze up. He picks his shots well, he pivots nicely, like I mentioned, he digs his shots in to the body very nicely, changes levels into the body, and yeah, he can try and get the better out of exchanges by going to the body. He tries to use his physicality as well, so I think on a physical aspect it could be interesting to see who comes out on top between the two of these. And yeah, they're definitely both are attacking minded type fighters in which are gonna probably want to stand and trade. I believe he will try and stand and trade a little bit at times, Liao, and that might not be a bad thing. It's just going to be interesting to see who can handle whose power more. But Liao does have good strong combinations as well. He's not really known for having crazy power, but he does have seemingly quite strong combinations, and he wants to be in close a lot of the time as well. So this could make, like I say, for a great fight. Negatives about him, I think he ducks his head down. He's susceptible to that uppercut quite a lot, in which he has. I've seen him get caught with quite a few times, and Lopez is very good at throwing them uppercut type shots. He stands straight on a bit as well. At times, I think he can be outthrown in exchanges as well. He fights at a high pace, but he can be kind of just outthrown in exchanges. He can be drawn into a fight, which, like I say, might not be a bad thing for this one, and kind of stand toe to toe. I think he can lunge in a little bit. He's there to be hit, obviously, being stood right in front of you. His head movement isn't anything too crazy either, in my opinion. I think it might be a little bit better than that of Lopez's, but it's not anything too wild. I don't think he cuts off the ring against Baez. He really could have cut off the ring a lot better, but he did seem like he was following around quite a bit at times, and he hasn't really been put on the back foot too much. So obviously we haven't really been able to see too much how he deals with that. Lopez is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Lopez will win via TKO in round 9. I think it's going to be a good performance from Lopez. I think he might find troubles at times and might get drawn into a bit of a fight at times, but in the end, like I say, I do just think he'll be able to, when he ups the pace when he wants to, he'll be able to land more in the combinations and in the exchanges and be able to hurt Liao. And I can just find with that uppercut, if he keeps landing that as well, if he can catch Liao continuously with that, then he could find ways to really hurt Liao and yeah, be able to get a stoppage in that way into the later rounds. But I'll credit Liao for being tough and being able to go into the later rounds with Lopez. And then who he could go on to fight next? You know, like I say, Paul for the moment hasn't moved up in weight, so he's still an option there and possibly could happen. I mean, Lopez has come over to England multiple times to fight English featherweights, so he could come and try and beat another one. Or Espinosa, like I said, another top-ranked fighter, like I mentioned earlier, same as Ramirez, 2 top-ranked fighters, even a Bruce Carrington, all top-ranked fighters. And I think, you know, top rank is pretty much ruled by, featherweights rule, top-rank rules of featherweights, and so you never know. I don't think it'd be too difficult to make other big fights happen, because in the actual IBF rankings, I don't really think there's any huge names screaming out to me. So hopefully we see more big unification on disputed type fights. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you didn't, like this, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.